Please start whenever you like. Great. Fantastic. Do you know, tech, it just drives you mad. Hello, everybody. I'm what's left of Russ Kane. What a week it's been, and not in a good way. Anyway, it's Friday. It's the midday show, and no better way to start the weekend, no better way than with our fearless first nighter, the man no stranger to a gin and tonic at the halftime interval when they change ends and eat oranges on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful theatre critic, Jonathan Baz.
Russ, hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm just sucking on an orange as
Top
before
man.
we speak.
Top man. Not you, your clothes.
Good to see.
So Bobby Davro, 1968, same joke.
Oh yes.
Right.
Anyway, right. Great to see you as always.
Thank you.
And interestingly,
Yes.
all of the shows this week have been catch-ups where, for various reasons, I've been out of the country or otherwise engaged and missed the press night. So it's been a bit of a catch-up round of theatre. But they're all still around, and if anyone wants to go and see them, there's still a chance to catch them all. First up, saw me taking another trek to Shakespeare's Globe. It was an evening where, in fact, the Northern Line chose to play Merry Hell.
Oh, I saw your message, and you walked 300 miles listening to the Proclaimers or something.
I walked 300 miles from Angel to Shakespeare's Globe, which was, in fact, listen, it was a pleasant evening. I grabbed some fish and chips on the way down the Goswell Road, and it's a straight line all the way from the Angel down past that ghastly roundabout near St. Paul's, crossing the river on that bridge that was built by for the Millennium.
The Wobbly Bridge.
Pedestrian wobbly.
I know. I don't know what it's actually called. I just always call it the Wobbly Bridge.
And I therefore approached the theatre for the very first time, not from the intricacies of coming through from Borough Market or from Blackfriars, but in fact from across the river. So it was a lovely evening. It was a glorious view of the theatre, and my hope, my expectation was that the show was going to be as good as the view.
I'm feeling a butt coming on here. JP.
Yes, and of course, speaking with you, Russ, I'm used to working with big butts.
Yay!
Boom, boom.
Thank you very much.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, the comedy stylings of Jonathan Baz.
Yes, I'd like to say I'm here all week, but luckily it's just for the next 27 minutes.
Try the chicken. Come on.
So, anyway, over to the Globe for Antony and Cleopatra, a show that I've seen a few times. Lovely story. One of the great classic romances of our time. Directed in this instance by Blanche McIntyre. And I'd noted that the show was being presented both in English and in BSL, British Sign Language. And I'm all in favour in the principle of theatre being inclusive and being accessible. This production, however, made from my personal perspective, my own point of view, it proved to be a challenging and not an easy night in the theatre. John Hollingworth is the actor who played Mark Antony, and Nadia Nadaraja, I hope I pronounced her name correctly, is playing Cleopatra, because the show is running until September the 15th. Hollingworth spoke his verse in spoken English. Nadia Nadaraja is a deaf performer, and all of her dialogue was delivered via BSL. And
explain to everybody what that means.
Sign language, effectively.
So, as I wasn't there, and I'm just acting as, every man, the actress, can you say that word anymore? Playing Cleopatra is not speaking but signing. Have I got that right? How is the so this is a really dumb question. I'm sorry to walk straight into the bear's trap. How do the audience know what's going on?
The Globe have arranged around the O of their performing space. So wherever you are, whether you're standing or seated, there were around that circle, effectively at gallery level, 4 screens that were scrolling the dialogue. So you could have your eyes glued to the screens, as I did for an awful lot of the time, because I'm an average person who does not know Antony and Cleopatra off by heart.
Precisely.
And
you don't know sign language.
Indeed, I have my flaws. And so I spent a huge chunk of the show with my eyes not glued
on a
to
screen,
the stage, but my
not
eyes
on a stage.
My eyes were glued to the screen.
Now, I'm not going to interrupt, but if I had paid a ticket, I know I'm on dangerous ground here, so I'm not putting you on the spot. But if I paid a ticket to see a play at one of the most famous theatres on the planet, and I'm having to sit watching a screen, I wouldn't be thrilled. I'll be honest with you, I would not be thrilled.
Indeed, a number of people left the show. I observed before the end of the show. It's received rave reviews from a number of my peers, but I was really unable to form any opinion on Nadia Nadaraja's performance because my eyes were not on her.
No.
And my eyes were on the screen, where a number of other actors also. And I have to admire, and I don't want to sound patronizing here, anyone who gets on a stage in front of an audience has got magnificent nerves and ability to be able to deliver their work. Full stop. That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's a fact. And if they're doing it with a disability, again, I don't want to sound patronizing. It's fantastic that the world is inclusive. However, for me, I, as a member of the audience, came away from that evening, unable to form an opinion on the production because my eyes, as I say.
Let me ask you I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I don't think you have to, certainly not the Midday show, and not to our audience, keep adding the I don't want to appear patronizing. I don't think anyone thinks you're being patronizing in the least. That's the first thing. Secondly, the rave reviews. Have we got to and it's a genuine question because I've not seen the show, nor am I going to go and see the show. Have we got to the stage in 2024 when the critics would be condemned and, slated if they didn't say it was a wonderful thing? Even though the audience are sitting there completely disconnected. A percentage of the audience are sitting there disconnected. You're watching the screen. You could read the text at home if you want to.
Quite possibly.
Interestingly, making the point. Dave Sleet's making the point. I know you're not. Didn't sound like inclusivity. Inclusivity includes the audience.
Now, the interesting thing, of course, is that Mark Antony, John Hollingworth, in delivering his role, for example, as the other speaking performers, he was not doing his role in BSL. He was just speaking the verse. And I have to say, there was one fantastic guy, a chap called Daniel Miller, who was playing a character called Eno Barbas, who has to give it's a famous speech describing Cleopatra's barge in all its magnificence and golden splendor. And he was marvelous. In that brief speech, the play really did come alive, but that moment was brief. But if you were in the audience and you're deaf and you're watching the show, when it came to Mark Antony's words, your eyes too would be on the screen because he was not doing his role in BSL, as far as I recall. And so you too are also, if you can say this, a little bit hamstrung in the audience, because, one way or another, it was a one-size show that ultimately fitted.
Didn't fit all. No, it kind of, yeah. I don't get it. I'm going to be absolutely honest. I know I'm not asking you to comment. I don't get it. I think there's a step that's kind of too far.
Yeah.
I admire the actress for doing it, but theatre is about bums on seats if you want to keep the theatre open and alive. and that's what that's about. Don't they have? I mean, I haven't got great hearing myself after all these years of broadcasting. It kind of damaged my hearing, but a little bit. But don't they have hearing loops? Those things.
Many theatres do.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you whether there's hearing loop technology available at the Globe or for that production. So the answer to that question is I do not know. But here the instance very much is a hearing loop is not going to assist the hard of hearing when you have a performer who's delivering her role in BSL. So
see what you've got to think about. What you've got to think about is what's the capacity of the Globe? I don't know. Say it's 500. I haven't a clue. Don't know. Never been. Say it's 500 people. Of those 500 people, how many people are able to watch Cleopatra giving her role in BSL? Handful?
Don't know. I don't know. Maybe more, given the publicity that the show will have attracted, possibly more, because it may have attracted a greater contingent of people who may have profoundly serious hearing problems, and then are of course excluded from 95% of most of what London's theatre scene has to offer. I get that. It's a tough one. I think the production was ambitious, but ultimately sadly a failure. And from my
isn't it interesting? I wonder if we can even say that without everybody, throwing down their copies of The Guardian and foaming at the mouth. I don't get it. You know what? With Strictly Come Dancing, I'm not being facetious. Strictly Come Dancing had a profoundly deaf contestant one year, and the most effective thing I've seen in decades was they're in the middle of the dance and suddenly there's no sound. The band stops, there's nothing, and they're dancing to silence. And the point was, that's what she was hearing. Nothing. And it lasted maybe a minute or so. Very brave, I have to say. I don't often praise the BBC, but very brave of the BBC to do that, because people around the country going, the sound's gone, the sound's gone. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing. But it lasted a minute.
And I think what I will say is there were parts of Anthony and Cleopatra that were choreographed. So Blanche McIntyre, as well as directing, the choreography was by Mark Smith, who is a very talented choreographer and also is deaf himself. And I've liked his work for a number of years. He is the other half of Stephen Mear, in fact, of another very, very talented choreographer. The two of them are quite a powerhouse couple. But, if one's doing a ballet, there is no script to a ballet, even if there's the ballet of a classic Shakespeare story or whatever. And you're there to see the whole story played out through music, dance, and mime. And you know what you're in for. And that really is a one-size-fits-all, because whilst if you've got a hearing problem, you may not be able to enjoy the sumptuous music that may have been written for that ballet, but you're certainly going to pick up the narrative that's being played out by the performers on stage. This, sadly, was, it wasn't one nor t'other.
So, Jonathan, let me ask you a very different... In fact, don't even feel obliged to answer this. Let's extend this notion. Would you have a ballet with somebody with one leg?
Sadly, in a
severely disabled. Would you do that?
In a cruel fate of technology, I lost your sound there, Russ, as you were half saying that.
You know what? Not only have they put in a new router, they put a router booster as well, and it's still garbage. What I was saying was this. I'll say it again, but let's hope it doesn't drop. Maybe it's God getting upset. That if we continue this analogy that you've just described with Antony and Cleopatra, and we had a ballet with someone who was severely disabled, had one leg or whatever, it might be a prosthetic, would they do that?
Russ, I would have to say, why the heck not? That's my honest answer to you.
Okay, well,
because why the heck can someone who may unfortunately only be lacking one or more limbs, why the heck can that person not learn to dance and be as expressive through the use of their body, through the use of their face in telling that story? So I would say, I'm sure there are choreographers.
They wouldn't have trained as a ballerina, would they?
Who cannot. Russ, who are we to judge that? You know, I would actually say, if that was the case, I'd go along, and if that story moved me, and I suspect it may well, if it's told by people who are talented.
The only way
in their
you
craft,
judge is whether you paid for the ticket or not. You can do whatever.
Well, luckily, from a reviewing,
I get that. The judging is if you buy a ticket or not. That's all there is to it.
Well, not when you're not necessarily when you're a critic, because when you're a critic, you're not there to pay a ticket. You're there because you've been invited to comment on a production.
I get that.
And if your diary permits, you're there to review it. So I would absolutely support the participation of people who are not fully able-bodied in ballet. And, you know, there are theatre companies who put on some spectacular pieces of work that I'm really not going to respond to Dave Sleet's comment. You know, and I've seen remarkable work done from performers who are managing significant disabilities.
Okay. Anyway, so the answer was it was not for you.
Well, I found it a disappointing night at the theatre. Yeah. You know, I was watching a screen. I wasn't watching.
That's why I don't go to, you know, for the same reason I don't go to concerts. Why? Because you're sitting in the car park and all you're doing, you can't see the performers are like little ants and you're watching the screen. I go, why have I paid all this to watch a screen? It's nuts.
A dynamically priced screen as well.
A dynamically priced, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, I was talking about that on air the other day on another radio station where I was guesting.
But let me move on. Let me move on to what was a depressing night in the theatre, but ultimately in part a good night at the theatre at times, which was the National's production of John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, which is a pretty grim story. It's about American Oklahomans, a family of Oklahomans who migrate west in the time of the Dust Bowl. The Depressions, the Great Depression has just happened. Wall Street has crashed. America is falling apart. So the Dust Bowl is turning the land literally to dust clouds. The crops aren't growing, and people were getting on their charabancs and their vehicles and whatever, and heading west because apparently in California the lands were paved with gold and there was work for everyone, etc.
It's all marvelous.
Steinbeck took a few years to research his book. And in 1990, a chap called Frank Galati, I hope I pronounced that correctly, sadly no longer with us, wrote a dramatic adaptation. And to be fair, Carrie Cracknell, director at the National Theatre, has coaxed a very, very good job out of her cast in telling this story. Quite a nice touch was that Greg Hicks plays the paterfamilias of the Joad family who are making this journey. Of course, Greg Hicks, not so long ago in Oklahoma, the musical, which came from the Young Vic into the West End, played sort of a patrician, prosperous farmer, and a very, very powerful and influential man in the community. And Greg Hicks is now reduced to a different sort of Oklahoman, struggling to eat his living.
You can get the EU subsidy. That's a problem.
Well, quite. It's, if you like Steinbeck, the show's worth seeing. They've brought in some new written songs for the production, which sadly are ghastly. And try to give it.
Can I ask you a question? How does that happen? If you're going to have the cheek of the devil and go, I know, we're sticking some music here. Was there music before? No. Was there intended to be music? No. But we're going to put some in anyway. Why would you not make it so that it's fabulous?
Well, you know, for musicians, no doubt very talented musicians and composers, stick some lyrics in there that give it an apparent relevance to the refugee issue that we're seeing now in the United Kingdom. So there's, whilst there wasn't hashtag refugees welcome on stage,
Yeah.
the rationale of the songs certainly gave rise to a very, very shallow political analogy.
Oh God, was it
with-
so? Was it just like getting the sledgehammer, smashing you in the face with it, and going, "Oh look,
No,
there's-
it wasn't.
there's
It
an
wasn't. It
analogy
wasn't that
here."
subtle. It wasn't that subtle.
It wasn't that subtle. They hit you
It
in the
wasn't.
nuts with the sledgehammer.
So that for me
So
was a bit
bored with it. I am so bored with it.
because I have
What
to
with
say, as
you,
a history.
I'm bored with this.
No, feel free to be bored with me. You form a
I'm
long
nev-
line
no,
of people.
no. I'm never bored with you. Never, never, never. Nice comment just come up.
Listen,
Not relevant. Not relevant.
It
when I
was a
edit this.
great. It was a great
Um,
history lesson because Steinbeck's depiction of the Dust Bowl and its impact really is beautiful, if harrowing writing. And
Yeah.
the final scene of the story, which I'm not going to talk
Spoiler
about.
alert.
The final scene. So no, the spoiler alert is there will be no spoiler. There will be no.
Oh.
But the final scene is harrowing. The book.
Well, it's farming. That's why. That's what they do.
Oh, boom, boom.
Thank you.
And that has been retained in the show.
Can you imagine, Jonathan, though, that you're a farmer, everything's going to shit, and literally you look down where you've planted and you need your crops to make a living, to put even basic food on the table, a roof over your head, and it is physically turning to dust. So when Jonathan is saying the Dust Bowl, that's what happened to the land. It turned into a dust bowl. So it's horrendous as a visual image. Horrible.
Yeah.
And you understand why the people got into the shower banks, a French word, by the way. Do you know where that came from?
Someone going to the bank?
Oh, so close, but I'm afraid no. Put it over the Kane team? Yeah, shower bank was when they would literally get planks of wood, almost like a lorry, and the people would sit on the planks of wood, and that would be like an early bus, a charabanc, as it was called.
Wow.
Not like Mimi LeBonc from Allo Allo. Right. Anyway, Sue, the lovely Sue Hodge. Moving
last show that I saw was is currently still running again, and it's on until the end of September. It's on at the Peacock Theatre on Kingsway, and it is A Night with Janis Joplin. A show in which a chappie, indeed she is, a chappie called Randy Johnson pulled this thing together quite a few years ago on Broadway. And I went along. Again, it had been open for a week or two. I was late to the party. I try and avoid other people's reviews, but I'd caught a mixed bag of opinions.
Yeah, I saw some.
I have to say, A Night with Janis Joplin proved to be just that. It did what it said on the tin. The actress playing Janis Joplin is an American woman who created the role on Broadway, Mary Bridget Davis. She is fantastic. The pipes on this woman take the roof off Peacock Theatre. And
that's good.
Particularly when she gets into some of those banging numbers like A Piece of My Heart.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a
she
song.
does it.
Tune.
She delivers. And
be awkward if she didn't, JB, though.
Well, she does. She does. And if you want an evening of Janis Joplin music, the show delivers. Some of Randy Johnson's links and textual bits and pieces that tell Janis Joplin's story, and barely you need to know her to understand that when the text references her saying, "Yeah, I'm going to live forever," blah blah, and of course, tragically, she's one of that group of famous performers who died at 27.
The 27 Club.
She is part of the 27 Club. And I think some of Johnson's script is a little bit skimpy and skirting. But the music is fantastic.
Do you get to know anything about her, or is it just
very little? Honestly, very little. She painted.
Really,
she painted. It's jukebox. It's unashamedly jukebox.
It's jukebox
with some other lovely Motown and blues numbers coming in from. I'm going to name them a quartet of Kalisha Amaris, Georgia Bradshaw, Chulwe Lena Muntanga, and Danielle Steers, who all four of them drop in and out of various other legends: Aretha Franklin, Bessie Smith,
Oh wow, Bessie
and
Smith.
do so really well.
Yeah.
The quality of and there's a great band on stage, Iestyn Griffiths, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and two banging guitarists as well, Kit Craig Loudon and Jack Hartigan. The band is fantastic. All of the vocalists are fantastic. Luckily, the thin bits of linking words are few and far between, because when the songs are sung, it's just
you don't
gorgeous.
really care, do you? Just there, you just.
Mercedes-Benz.
How much of it is? One of the things I want to say.
Go on.
Oh Lord, won't you give me a Mercedes?
I'm losing you, Russ, again.
My friends all
I'm losing.
got Porsches.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay.
You're back.
Well, yeah, that's because I'm singing. That's because I'm singing, and immediately the gods of technology go, "You shall not sing."
Yes, auto tune gets set to auto mute. No, I've lost you again.
I'm not the Spice Girls guy that bloody works for us. I think it's fair enough if you let everybody know this is a jukebox musical. It's not, Brecht. It's not Pinter. It's a jukebox, and you get what, as you said, lovely. You get what it says on the tin, and you can go on, have a bloody good time, and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. People get very snotty about it, and I don't think they should.
Indeed, we've had this conversation. I quite agree. There was an audience, predominantly a silver-haired audience.
Sure, well, they wouldn't know. Your kids wouldn't know who Janis Joplin is. It's highly unlikely, isn't it? I don't know who Hendrix is. Dancing
away. There was a lot of encouragement to get. I mean, albeit I do find dancing in the stalls or the circle of a West End theatre a little slightly contrived. But notwithstanding that, the music was great. On until the end of the month, and it's good fun.
Did you get up and shake your funky thang?
Interestingly, I did not. Had I been,
Had
I been with a +1, who knows? My +1 had been in the mood. Maybe I might have, but
sight to behold.
Sat on my Larry.
No, sat on your Larry Viner.
I was so I decided not to.
And I think, in hindsight, a wise decision.
Indeed.
Jonathan, thank you so much. A mixed bag this week, I think you're fair to say. A mixed bag. Bless you for that. Bless you for all you do for the Midday show, and we will speak to you in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much. Our intrepid, talking of intrepid, he's here. Yeah.
Hi.
There he is.
Did you miss
me? I did. I miss you very much. I always miss you. I've got telescopic sights on order now from Amazon, and I think the missing situation's going to be improved.
Telescopic sights?
Yeah, well, you keep saying, did I miss you? And I did. I was just slightly to the left. It was like a Donald Trump moment, and slightly was to the left. But I think, the telescope.
Slightly to the left sounds more like a Biden moment.
Oh, Jesus. Well, he wouldn't know, would he? Anyway, God, I can't even get it. I'm so depressed.
Or a Kamala Harris moment.
Communist
now
Harris.
Learned how to say her
it's pronounced Communist Harris.
Yes. Well,
my favorite thing from Kamala Harris I don't know.
Kamala. Yes.
I don't give a shit.
It's basically a bit like saying comma as in like a punctuation.
Oh, so it's apostrophe. Is it apostrophe Harris?
Yeah.
Semicolon Harris. What,
yes.
Anyway, my favorite thing.
Pain in the asterisks.
Pain in the in the parabolics. Now, my favorite thing was she was wearing. She can't talk to the press because she can't string a sentence together. This one, right? I mean, she can't, right? And what's her real accent? I'm loving this. On tour with the chameleon Harris with a southern accent.
Oh, I'm pleased you noticed. She does seem to change her accent, doesn't she? I thought I was imagining.
Accent. She's got a black accent in Detroit. She goes down south. She's like a member of the Beverly Hillbillies.
I'm well aware of what misogyny is.
I know what it is. when I grew up in a shed in Tennessee. It's all such bollocks. Anyway, point is, she's got this new trick. She's got this Wee Willie Harris. She's got this
chameleon.
That I just said that. I said that.
Did you? Sorry.
Maybe I thought it. Anyway, here's the new thing. She can't talk to the press because she's as dumb as a rock. So, she's got this. She's got her earphones in, like I'm wearing, and she's going like this. And then, but she's also got her phone to her ear.
So like, I can't hear you.
She's pretending to be on the phone call. It's so dumb. She's got her earbuds and her phone to her ear, and waves at the press.
How do we end up in a position where we have such daft people in charge?
God knows. My favorite is that this week Putin endorsed Harris. Vladimir Putin endorsed Harris.
There you
go. Of course he bloody did. It's like, God damn. It's like,
no kidding. Of course he would endorse Harris.
It's like
it means he can get away with murder.
Johnson endorsing, Charles Hawtrey in a 1-to-1 wrestling match. I mean, duh. He doesn't want a real opponent. There's going to be hell. This vice president, this bizarre, weird little man, Tim Waltz, who's running as her.
His family all seem to support Trump.
This is the best thing. This is the best thing. His entire family thinks he's an idiot, and they're all going, don't vote for this guy. He's awful. Tim's brother, this is how much his family love him. There's something very off about him. You see him dancing around. There's something really off about him. And Tim's brother is doing a whole interview and giving all the family dirt. Classic. Absolutely.
Apparently his campaign song is Engelbert Humperdinck, The Last Waltz.
Did you think of that? That's very good.
Thanks.
That is good. How have you been this week, by the way?
Well, it's been a bit of an odd week for me, really, because the truth is I've been moved on to daytime, only for this week, right? But I've been moved on to Monday to Friday.
That means you'll be seeing daylight.
I know. That's why I've slightly melted, but
the hell?
I'm okay. I'm surviving.
Are you sure you're all right?
I think so. My eyes are just about adjusting just in time for next week when I go back to my regular.
Is it like Christopher Lee when they pulled back the curtains and, Bride of Frankenstein?
A bit, yeah. But that's what I look like in the morning anyway.
I mixed up two films there, I know. Yeah.
Fine,
so you're on daytime. So what does that mean? You're not looking after JHB, are you?
You're right, I am not. It means there's an awful lot of administration involved, and I'm not completely across administration, as you know. So it's fine. I'm cracking on with it.
Why is there admin on your huge radio station, which is gigantic? What do you have to do?
Maybe anything really, from paying contributors to managing rotors.
Hey, whoa. Let me stop you at that point, coaches. Paying contributors? I've contributed this week. I was on my grand show. I contributed this week.
I know you did. I saw you.
Oh, you saw me. And a great pleasure.
And we don't charge you for that.
Did I tell you the best bit? The best bit was, so I was asked, could I talk about dynamic pricing, what you and I would call scalping, but they call it dynamic pricing. It's like
what I would call rip them off, but anyway.
It's just ripping them off. Anyway, dynamic pricing and Oasis. I said, sure, I'd be delighted. So I go there. We've changed our mind. Okay. These are the stories. So I go, okay. So, I've got like 4 minutes before we're on. So I go through all this. You know how quickly I work when I'm in proper headspace. So I do all that. And then a voice comes in my ear. Well, had we... This is the best bit. I'm sure he's a lovely fellow, whoever it was. Had we known that you weren't a big Oasis fan and not going to the Oasis concert, we wouldn't have had you on. And with about 30 seconds ago, I said, well, I can go if you like. I'm perfectly happy to. You didn't point out that was a prerequisite. Oh, no, don't go.
Did you see that your friend and my friend, Kazza Faraday, actually managed to get her tickets to Oasis live on air? And it went around some of the newspapers.
Yeah, I know the media picked it up. We used to work. I worked for many years at Capitol. She was 18 when I met her, 18, 19, Caroline. And her kids get so grown up as well. She lives in Los Angeles and we hang out if I go over there to do my show. And yeah, that was the thing. She was thrilled to get it. She was thrilled to get it. There's a lot of snootiness, isn't it? There's a lot of I was never an Oasis fan. I met Noel once. We had a very, very, very nice conversation. I know people have met Liam and said he was very nice. Not the point. But there's no need to be snarky. Millions of people absolutely loved them. Millions of people are thrilled they can go to an Oasis concert. Leaves me stone cold. So what? Doesn't matter.
I've got to be honest, to me, the 90s are just a blur.
Yay!
Can I point out as well, lovely Demisa, who got the place to yourself at the moment?
I'm sorry, she's made me. She's in hospital.
Yes. Good afternoon from Cath Lab.
A mutual friend of ours is in hospital, but she seems to be better than she was anticipating to be. So there we go.
Thanks to incredibly efficiency, I'm fitter than I thought I was. She goes on to say, not relevant, but there's an old joke, the punchline of which is, I can see your house from here. Today I dedicate that punchline to you.
That is because
she probably actually can.
My understanding is she's in a certain hospital, and it happens to be where you live. Not in the Phil lives in the hospital. I didn't understand why his flat was so cheap until it turns out to be. Cupboard. It's the entrance hall was the cleaning cupboard. The kitchen was the canteen. I thought that was a good use of space.
Well, I like a big kitchen.
It's huge. I said, all this for you, and I hadn't realised I was in the hospital. It was pretty good. Although the bed was, just kidding. Anyway,
it wasn't bad.
I'm very pleased our mutual friend is feeling well. So that's good news. That is good news. So how do you feel? Well, the point I was making is, how do you feel when people are so snarky about stuff? Just because you don't like it doesn't mean other people can't enjoy it.
Well, I'm not in the least bit surprised people are snarky. It's because that's the day and age in which we live. Unfortunately, we sort of bred a bunch of cretins who seem to think that their opinion is the only one that counts, and therefore everyone else can just do one. And frankly, it's whatever they say is irrelevant. I've never had anything like it. What on earth happened to good old-fashioned debates? What happened to just a discussion? Whatever happened to actually just the word opinion?
But it's not even an opinion. Why can't you just say, "Oh, good, people are happy"? Millions of people. These concerts were scheduled for going through, I think, June, July next year or something.
Yes,
they're going to sell out Wembley Stadium. I think it's 3 or 4 nights there. It'll sell out. People will have a great time. What's wrong with that? Would I go? No. Do I have any interest in going? No. If I was offered a free ticket, would I go? No. So what? It doesn't matter what I do.
You are offered a free ticket. Thanks.
Would you go? All right. Let's deal with. I want to talk to you about. I want to. Yeah, you could sell it for. I mean, there were so many great jokes. My favorite was looking to swap 2-bedroom house in Tenerife for an Oasis ticket. I mean, there's lots of wonderful gags. I want to discuss something that I can only talk about with you, because I know you'll have a big view on it. All right.
Oh,
and it's something.
Well, I'm a bit short myself.
No, I don't want any money.
Oh, I see. Okay. Fine.
Oh, you thought I was going to ask you for a loan?
Well, I don't know. You see,
you're really quite annoying sometimes. You know.
Thanks.
No, just all right. This week, they put in. I'm going to try and walk around this gently because I know you're going to steam in with both guns blazing. They put in a bus route so that Jewish people in London would feel safe. And before you say, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, there was a particular route between 2 points in London used by particularly more Orthodox Jews who have been harassed within an inch of their lives, as we know. More marches going on tomorrow. Lovely. In central London. Great. And they put in this bus route, and Mayor Khan, who has not done anything about these marches since October 7th, put that to one side. Said, "Oh, this is great. This is so that the Jewish community feels safe on this bus." How have we got in one of the most sophisticated major capital cities on the planet you got to have a special bus for Jewish people. Well, would we have a special bus for black people or Indian people? No, because it wouldn't be necessary. This is on the one hand, you think, oh, that's nice. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to shut the hell up. And on the other hand, you think the subtext to this, the subtextual interpretation is Berlin 1933. That's all there is to it. Phil, Dave, what do you think?
I think what's particularly interesting about this is the way that it is being billed as this route so that Jewish people feel safe. I have to say that I happen to know that there has been demand or requests for a particular bus that runs between, and I don't think it matters if we say the areas because it's a public route, so anyone knows, anyone use it. It is Golders Green to Stamford Hill, which of course are both densely populated with Jewish people. And I believe that actually that route has been in the pipeline for a long, long time. So the fact that it is being billed as something to make Jewish people feel safer, I actually think is sensationalizing what doesn't need to be sensationalized. It is a new bus route. That is all. It's not really anything more than that. So do I recognize that primarily Jewish people will probably end up using it? Yes, of course, because that is two major parts of the capital where religious Jewish people live. So yeah, it stands to reason that if they don't drive, of course, they're going to jump on this new bus that takes them from one point to the other, whether they're visiting friends, family, whatever it is, of course, they're going to use it. But I actually think that where we've gone wrong is the newspaper writers, the news writers, whoever they are, allowing it to be billed as a route to make Jewish people feel safe, because that is not the motivation behind it at all. And if it certainly wasn't the original motivation behind it. If it's what's tipped it over the edge, well, then that's just shameful. But it is certainly not what was the original idea behind it. So exactly the same way that you wouldn't say the congestion charge was to make people with asthma feel safe in London. It's just nonsense. It doesn't make sense. That's not what it is.
That's a really great point.
But it's literally nonsensical. It's a bus route. It's a brand new bus route. Who cares?
It's a bus route. But there's so much to unpack from it of what's going on. Is it, thank you very much, we should be so grateful, thank you. Is it just, look, we look after everybody in this town. Everybody gets looked after. Yeah, right. Of course they don't. See how far Phil and I would get if we wandered down the street with a machete. About 10 yards, I should imagine, before we were arrested. I just...
Quite rightly.
Absolutely. What I don't understand on this bus route that's meant to make one group of people feel so much safer, what happens if you're not in that group of people and you get on the bus? And I'll put it in neutral terms. Suppose, my problem is like a Roman Catholic, right, or a Protestant or a Jehovah's Witness is not going to get out and yell Allahu Akbar. They're not. That's just it. So it's not a segregated bus route as such. I don't know. I found the whole thing really uncomfortable. Really, really
I think what was more uncomfortable is just the way it was billed. The headline behind it. It's just not true. So, and what annoys me probably more than anything is there will be some who read that who don't bother to look at the details of it, who will say, well, hang on a second, why do they get a special bus route?
I feel unsafe in London. I need to get to the mosque, so I want my own bus route, whatever it might be. An interesting point coming up direct from a hospital somewhere in London. If it's for safe, if it's for safety, doesn't mean other people of other faiths and none will be allowed to get on it. How does one check? Surely, the last bit makes my stomach tense. Is it an invitation for terrorism?
Well, I don't know. It certainly would make it a target, but I don't know if it's an open invitation.
No, it's not. Well, we're dealing with words there.
Look, the bottom line
what does it take? Nothing. The wind changes direction. I
have said for a great number of years that I despise anything that actually highlights differences and causes division. So for me, I've always had a problem. I know you didn't necessarily think we're going to go down this route, but I'm going to say it anyway. I have always despised the idea of Black History Month, because to me, all that does is it highlights to say, oh, look, Black people are different. They get their own special month. No, if there is not enough education in schools about potential communities and what they have been through, then the education system needs to be looked at. You don't need to have a special month to say, oh, look, these people are different from you and me. They've got their... It's ridiculous. I absolutely hate anything.
Well, how do you feel? I might as well just pour petrol on the fire. Now we're burning ourselves to hell. How do you feel, therefore, about Gay Pride Month?
Hate it. Absolutely hate it.
Because why?
Because in this day and age, we don't even need to ask anyone what the hell their sexuality is. I mean, we shouldn't be asking what their sexuality is. If someone doesn't like it, that is their problem. It is not ours. It's not society's problem. It's nothing. Do you know what I mean? It is totally and utterly irrelevant. And to literally have a month that highlights it and then gets all of these ridiculous companies to start making some...
Oh, that's just shit. I mean, that is just... It is just
do those gestures.
You know it's a marketing thing. And the moment the month's over, down come the posters and back to business as usual.
Do those gestures in the countries where it matters. Do it in the UAE if you dare.
Yeah,
right? It's absolute nonsense. I can't stand it. I absolutely hate anything that causes division. It is totally unnecessary in this day and age. And frankly, it seems to be causing more problems than it's actually fixing.
Well, of course it has.
But look at what the BLM did. The BLM, without a shadow of a doubt, set back race relations about 20, 30 years.
30 years. Not even 20 years. 30 years. 30 years.
Exactly.
A Marxist bunch of crooks worshipping a career criminal.
I have a very simple
who died of a fentanyl drug overdose. You know, unbelievable.
You have either human or not human. That's all we should be worrying about. Literally nothing else matters. Anything else, people can live their life in whatever way they want. Don't need to highlight it to me. I'm not interested. I don't want anyone knowing about what I believe in. I don't want anyone sort of making a special month on my behalf. Doesn't matter. Just literally let people get on.
No, whoa. Phil Dave Month would have a lot of advantages. First, every man, I'm using that term, arrest me. Every man must wear a cravat for a month and a three-piece suit. In Phil
I
Dave
think they should do that anyway, but that's just
I think that would be great. You carry a tightly furled umbrella wherever you go, irrespective of the weather.
Oh, it could be bright sunshine.
Could be, doesn't matter. You've got to carry the umbrella. You wear a very snappy fedora hat. This is Phil Dave Month.
Absolutely have to.
I'm building on this. As I'm thinking of it, I'm building because this is a money-making scheme.
Be prepared to have a toss of whiskey each evening.
Responsibly, please. Every day, responsibly, you have to have a tot of the most peaty. In fact, just dig up some peat in your garden, or go to Wales or Scotland. Go to Scotland, dig up some, just shove it in a glass. Put a drop of water on it. That's Phil's whiskey.
No, much better than that. Just get an ashtray and just boil some water and stir it in. There you go. Lovely. My kind of peat.
My kind of peat. My kind of peatle with Michael Barrymore.
Honestly,
what else can we? Because this is good. It's going to push up the clothing trade is going to have a boom. The hat trade, millinery trade is going to have a boom. The pocket handkerchief square is going to have a boom. It's going to be great. Phil Dave Month. And the marches would just be, hello, how are you? Hello.
You too could become a guardian of tradition.
This is it. Do you ever watch a guy? No, I can't remember his bloody surname. Damn. And he talks like this. When you're stirring a cup of tea, have you seen this guy? Because every time I see him, I think, did Phil Dave train this guy? His name, Charles Hanson. I think his name is
William Hanson.
William Hanson.
I didn't train him, but I was one of the first people to put him on radio.
Were you? He kills me. It's hilarious.
I know who William Hanson is, yes.
He reminds me of you in that he just This is who I am. This is how I conduct myself. You don't like it, piss off. I think it's great. I love it. I find his stuff so funny. When you're walking down the street and you have earbuds and dark glasses, this is the way you greet somebody. First, take out your left thing, take off your glove and say hello. It's just marvelous. It's just marvelous.
Too right.
It's just how did you come across him in the first place?
It was a mutual friend of ours who, I mean, I haven't spoken to William Hanson for quite a while now.
He's got his own one-man show coming up soon.
Well, he also, he does a show with a chap called Jordan North, who's a broadcaster on BBC Radio 1, or at least he was. He's now on Capital Radio. He does Capital Breakfast.
Oh.
So he now, yeah, I suppose actually it's true. He's the new Tarrant. But he has a podcast to them together.
Oh, do they?
Called Help, I Sexted My Boss.
I'll give a quick plug. My daughter is, I still can't give the big news about her. Her podcast news. I still can't do that. It's embargoed. When she told me, I nearly fainted. But she has a new podcast. My daughter, Lauren Mishcon, has a new podcast. It's called 40-ish. 40-ish. And I think they did the first recording, what was yesterday? Thursday? Yeah, because I was conducting.
Okie dokie, artichokey.
What's that artichoke? Nothing. It's nice. It's nice. I'm going to get like a pack of Doritos next time because that will be. How's it going with you in the queue in the canteen? Are you when you go at 1 o'clock and just straight at the front of that queue? Is it okay? Are you pushing your way past
I don't
everyone?
queue.
That's why I said it. The idea of you queuing is I don't see it at all. Don't see it. Don't see you queuing.
It's the one British tradition that I can very happily live without.
What, queuing?
Don't understand.
Go to Tel Aviv Airport. They don't believe it there either.
No, they don't believe it. And too right.
No,
never done anything like it. Don't understand why we are obsessed with queuing in this country. It's ridiculous.
Because it's polite. It's the right thing to do.
I should probably finish the word country when I'm saying
well,
it.
You nearly did, but you choked on it. Artichokey.
I'm so sorry.
Artichokey. Very good. That's very
I promise you, I was saying country.
Of course you were. Of course you were. Of course you were. And that was when Phil had to leave the BBC. When broadcasting goes wrong with me. Simon Withington.
I'm so sorry. I've never done that.
I'm so clipping that. I am so when I get some time, because I've got a lot to do today. I'm gonna clip.
Whoops. Note to self: finish your word. Don't stop halfway.
Finish your words and don't eat bloody artichoke in the middle of a middle of a broadcast.
Oh, how do you spell P45 again? Anyway.
I don't know. It's too complicated for me. I can't work it all out. Oh gosh. Yeah, I did a big funeral yesterday. It was. I didn't realize it was going to be so big. I don't know the people. Obviously, the clients. I don't know them as such. And not only was the whole of the chapel full, but there was an upper level. This is a place called West Herts Crematorium, which is a big place. And the whole of the upper tier was full, as was absolutely packed. And very life affirming. I know that sounds counterintuitive. The fellow, I'm not going to say his name because I think that's no one else's business. He just seemed a delightful guy. Not famous at all. Just a delightful guy. But what I found so wonderful, there was one son, adult, guy in his 30s. And I thought about the relationship they had, and it was clear. It was just fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, I was a bit envious. Because they
Do you ever feel strange, though?
buds.
I mean, I know you've always said it's an honor. I know you say that.
It is an
but
honor.
do you ever find it strange that you talk so personally about someone you never actually knew?
No, because I always, in my opening I do an opening, eulogy, and closing, and the rest of the service we do and put together. But I always say I never met XYZ. I make it very clear I never met this person. I dread the day when it's somebody that I've met. That would really be very upsetting. I don't think so. Don't forget, I've written it. I have a long meeting, an hour and a half with the family, usually in person at their home or otherwise on Zoom if they're traveling or whatever, or far flung. And when I write the eulogy, I send it back to them so they have complete approval. Obviously, it's there. I'm there as a conduit, if you like. So I don't feel strange about it. I'm not saying what a great guy, and I'm making it clear that I'm speaking on their behalf, not on my behalf. So yeah, I do find it an honor. I find it a real privilege too. I really do. I find it an absolute privilege that you're entrusted to do something very special.
Yeah, it must be pretty incredible.
It's a beautiful feeling. I get very nervous beforehand. I check and double check and everything like that. And then I kind of look forward to it because it's a performance, which it is, because there's nobody else but you. That's it. And then afterwards, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Well, that's probably the adrenaline, isn't it?
Yeah, the adrenaline just goes like that because you've got to make sure everything's perfect. You want it to be perfect. You want it to be absolutely right. I mean, I do. I don't know if everybody else does, but certainly my training was such, and my personality is such. I always want everything to be, as good as it can possibly be. And I get annoyed if it isn't. But I want them to come away and going, that was the perfect service for the family member that they've lost. Yeah. So I don't find it strange.
I take it you've never had anyone turn around and say that wasn't quite what we had in mind.
No, because it's belt and braces.
I'm not being funny. That must be the most awful thing. Could you imagine?
Well, it could have. I mean, if you haven't done your homework properly, if you haven't written it so that it's correct, if the family haven't checked it through, or you haven't sent it to the family, and they're sitting there going, "Who the hell's this man or woman talking about? What are they talking about?"
I suppose when you put it like that, if they've got to give it final approval anyway, why would they say it's not what they had expected?
But not everybody is like, not all broadcasters are equal. I guess not all celebrants are equal, and it's a performance to make sure that everybody feels included. I know some people will sit there and just stare at their paper, read the paper. Fred Smith was a wonderful man. Okay, they've got the gig and they'll do it however they want. It's not how I would do it, but they do it how they want. It's not my concern. It's not for me to comment. But no, that would be really. And the one thing is, Phil, of course, when you're meeting your clients at that point on that day, they're in a daze. They're in an absolute daze. So you want to make sure you take as much pressure as possible completely off them so they can just sit. And that's a privilege. I'm serious. I really do. I feel that's... Did we talk about Phil Swern last week? Were you here?
Yes, I believe that we mentioned in passing about him, and yes, you did pay tribute to him.
Yes, and also a beautiful obituary to him in the Times. I think people just thought we just jumped on it. He wasn't a big deal. And Phil Swern, who would be the last person to ever say he was a big deal, bless him. He was the most modest person you've ever met, ever. Modest, so low key, it was unbelievable. And the Times wrote a beautiful obituary for him. Shook me up.
Look, there's no denying to anyone who works in TV or radio would know, certainly radio, I think more than TV, would know that he was a legend of our production, if you like. Absolutely. In terms of sort of in the production world, he was a big name.
and the most charming, modest. We hadn't seen each other. I'm not pretending we'd seen each other recently. We hadn't. At one point, we were very, very close. We saw each other a heck of a lot, and I thoroughly enjoyed his company. He was a very witty guy. Very, very witty guy. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
and I've thoroughly enjoyed your company. Goodbye. Now,
but now you got to go.
I do have to go, and I have to tell you as well that this is not necessarily the time to spring this on you. It might not be around for the next few weeks, but I'll tell you why off air. Sorry.
You got to tell me now. No, you drop this on me now. Huh. Well, you can do me a big favor before you go. You got to press end stream because this is.
I will press end stream. I tell you what I could do. I might be able to do one show live from Israel. That's a clue.
Israel. And on that note,
bye.
Bye, everybody.